It is my great, great pleasure to welcome Whitney back to Annenberg.
Hi, everybody. Hello. Hi. Keep clapping. Keep clapping. Wow, this is awesome. It's so good to be back at Annenberg. I'm just glad that you guys are okay with people knowing that I went to school here. I felt like you guys were probably hiding it. There's so many, when I walked onto campus, so many like amazing memories started flashing back into my mind. I remembered watching the great Desmond Tutu speak at my graduation in 2003. I'm basically the same thing. And then some not so great memories also flashed into my mind, like when I rolled my ankle trying to take a picture of myself on that button sculpture, and when I got my wallet stolen at Barnes & Noble, which is now a Penn bookstore. I got robbed there. But it is good to be back. I had an incredible experience here at Penn. It was here at Penn that I took a women's studies class that inspired me to dedicate my life to talking about the female experience. It was here at Annenberg that I took a class with Dr. Carolyn Marvin, who introduced me to George Carlin. She, in her freedom of expression class, I think it was called First Amendment at the time, she played us the George Carlin 7 Dirty Words speech, and it was then that I decided I wanted to say curse words for a living. Thank you for that. And it was here that I met my first awful boyfriend, who inspired me to talk about terrible relationships for a living. So in terms of what I want to say to you guys today, I mean, I don't want to generically just ramble about my career, because if you want to hear that, you can just Google me. And I don't want to stand up here and regurgitate inspirational quotes, because nowadays you can find inspirational quotes on like Instagram. So I'm going to keep it very simple, and I am going to tell you what I've learned and what I wish someone would have told me when I was your age, sitting in your position. I'm sure you're all wondering what's going to happen next in your lives. I can't tell you everything that's going to occur, but I can tell you with certainty a couple things that will absolutely happen in the next 10 years. You will get rejected. You will fail. You will get hurt. You will have a terrible boss who treats you unfairly. You will make mistakes. You will embarrass yourself horribly. Your cell phone will fall into a toilet. You will get wrinkles, and if you're a girl, you'll look into your rearview mirror one day and see that you've grown a mustache. You will get your heart broken. You will lose something that you thought you would die without. And believe it or not, these will be the best things that have ever happened to you. An Ivy League education has developed your mind, but these ostensible disasters are what are going to develop your soul. And believe it or not, you know, in no particular order, I am going to list a couple of the best things that ever happened to me in my professional career. I got hired to write a pilot for Fox. They did not pick it up. I actually don't think they even read it. I wrote another pilot for Comedy Central. They not only didn't pick it up, they didn't even tell me they didn't pick it up. I ran into someone that worked there at a comedy festival, and I was like, oh, so what happened with that? And he was like, oh yeah, we're not doing it. I didn't even get the respect of being told it didn't get picked up. I signed with a huge talent agency in Los Angeles, and my agent told me that I wasn't pretty enough to ever star in a television show. He said to my face that I was too quirky to ever be a leading lady. I have since fired his ass. Thank you. I booked a pilot as an actress for a major network. After we shot it, I got fired. And over the phone. They called me over the phone on a weekend, and I literally thought they were asking me to like hang out, and they fired me over the phone. Probably because I was too quirky or not pretty enough. He was right. I finally wrote a show that did get picked up, and before it even aired, I got lambasted by critics. I got attacked for my body, my voice, basically all the things about myself that I can't change. I then got sued by someone who told me I stole their idea based on my life. Which I was like, this can't possibly be true. The show was about how I was like a broke jerk. I was like, if this can't be true, because if you truly have my life, you wouldn't be able to afford to sue me, dummy. So anyway, and that show ended after 2 seasons. So you're probably looking up here at me thinking I'm some big success story, but the truth is that I am a giant failure. I just kept failing and failing until I got what I wanted. And I realized that my failures were why I got successful. Because, my failures are what made me the kind of person that deserved success and who knew what to do with it once I got it. All of you here today have the best education money can buy. You went to the University of Pennsylvania, you're at the Annenberg School of Communication, but if you don't have grit and heart, and if you don't have tenacity and perspective and the ability to alchemize a crappy situation into something valuable, you don't have much of anything. For me personally, my failures have been the only real advantage I've had in my career. As a writer and a performer, the most important aspect of writing stories in television or movies is conflict. In order to write about mistakes, you have to have made some. In order to write about pain, you have to have felt some. In order to feel sympathy, you have to have been victimized. In order for art to imitate life, you have to have a life. Otherwise, art would just imitate art and you're left being unoriginal and derivative. If you've never seen a movie or TV show where everything in the story just works out perfectly, that would be a terrible show. That's like Hannah Montana or something. I don't know. When I was your age and something bad would happen, I would fall apart. I would cry, I'd feel sorry for myself, I thought my life was over. But today when something bad happens, I actually get excited because I know that I'm being rerouted to something better, or if nothing else, I'm gonna get a good story out of it, or a good joke at least, And I know it sounds like some kind of emotional, like dyslexia or weird Scientology trick or something, but every disaster in my life, from being fired to being cheated on, ended up serving me. Like jokes about horrible dates literally paid for my house, I'm telling you. So I'm trying to get this into your head because I did not understand this at your age. Every time something seemingly inauspicious is in your path, I promise you it's for your own good, even if it's not in the sparkling, wrapping paper that you'd expect. The sooner you understand that what you perceive as rejection or failure is actually a gift, and that you may not be getting what you want, but you're getting exactly what you need, the sooner you'll be living your dream. So, as you go out into the world and you embark on your life's mission, I advise you, do not miss any opportunities to fail miserably. If you're here today, you're probably used to winning a lot, right? You're used to being the best, you're used to being the smartest. Now it's time to eat shit, okay? You told me I could, her class says that I can talk like this. First Amendment right. I promise you, if you're not failing on a consistent basis, that probably means you aren't taking enough risks. And to that point, I would say pick a vocation you enjoy failing at, because that's why you'll succeed. Whenever someone asks me how to become a stand-up comedian, I always ask them, do you love failing at it? As the great comedian Louis C.K. says, stand-up is a profession where you succeed by failing. Every night I get on stage with new material, and all comedians, we still suck sometimes. We just keep sucking and sucking until the audience won't let us anymore, until we figure out why something is funny. So if you're only pursuing a job for the glamorous moments, I would say rethink your path. Okay? For example, if you don't love eating rubbery chicken fingers in filthy comedy clubs, flying in a middle seat to Pensacola to make $50 a show, making drunk strangers laugh, don't become a comedian. If you don't love having back pain and migraines from staring at your computer screen and having weekly nervous breakdowns, I don't recommend becoming a writer. If you don't love being told you aren't pretty enough, if you don't like changing clothes in your car 3 times a day and having blotchy face from self-tanner, don't become an actress. This is the way you need to think about your future. You cannot avoid rejection, so my advice is to learn to love it. Crave it. Make failure your comfort zone. Reverse your desire and start to view rejections as one step closer to your goal. I believe that rejection is noble. Rejection means you've been taking a lot of swings. I wrote 5 pilots before one got made. I went on hundreds of auditions before I booked one acting job, even that one I got fired from. Get rejected a lot, because being numb to rejection, that is true freedom. Think about it. Someone who isn't afraid of failing, that person is literally unstoppable. That person is a force to be reckoned with. I have to hire people a lot. I don't know if you guys have been going on interviews and stuff yet, but I interview literally hundreds of people all the time for about 10 slots. And one employee has always stuck with me, this writer named Lauren Greenberg. And when I met with her, she had never written on a television show before. She got a meeting because she had funny tweets on her Twitter feed. You guys make me feel so old. I can't even say that without seeming like an idiot. Anyway, Lauren was by far the least qualified person that I met with. So when she came in, I just asked her about her personal life. Be ready for that, because I don't really care about, credits, and this is the worst thing you could possibly hear right now, but I don't really care. I literally don't even read resumes. I just try to figure out who the person is, because they have to spend every day with you in an office, So I don't look at resumes. And she ended up going on this weird tangent about how her mom signed her up for J-Date without telling her, and she had a nervous breakdown in my office, and she started crying because she was so depressed about her job. She was promoting some weird diet food, and she was like, anyway, she sounds wildly unprofessional and mentally unstable, I know, but I hired her on the spot. I hired her solely because she cried in the meeting. I was so impressed by her vulnerability and her honesty and her ability to surrender to the unhinged, broken side of herself. She told me the truth instead of telling me some rehearsed monologue of what she thought I wanted to hear. And she by far gave the worst meeting I've ever had. And but she showed me her soul. And in my field, someone who can tap into that is the quarterback of any writing staff. And she now writes for James Corden and is probably more successful than I am. So I dare you to be brave enough to be terrible at something. Figure out your weaknesses and how they can be strengths. So pitch that ridiculous idea, write that weird script, invent that insane product. Do what everyone else thinks is impossible. Cry in a meeting. Lose your mind. It's like, tell the truth. Because when you tell the truth, I know that it's messy and frustrating and it's inconvenient, but that's where your soul is. I dare you to go out there and be called insane. Dare to be called annoying. Dare to be called crazy. Because I promise you, all the most influential, successful people are called those things at one point. As far as I'm concerned, you have not made it in your field until someone's called you crazy. And I feel like I've made it because I get called that a lot. It's usually crazy bitch, but that's another story. I don't want to spend this whole time talking about failure because that would be weird for a graduation speech. So I will talk about success for a minute. I don't know a ton about success because, as I said, I've basically failed my way to where I am. But here's the thing. Here's what I do know about success. The more unachievable your goal is, the less competition you're going to have. So I advise you to set unreasonable goals. Okay, because the thing is, you're all going to get everything you want. You went to Penn, you're obviously erudite, you have ambition. You guys already have jobs. It's unbelievable. All this stuff she was reading, I can't believe you. You went to Penn. But here's the thing, if you want to start that company or get that book deal, you can probably do that, right? And those are big goals, but I think you should think bigger. I think you should think on a more visceral level. How about instead of the goal, be a journalist? How about be a hero? How about instead of make $1 million, how about make a difference? Instead of get a brownstone in Brooklyn, how about change the world? Instead of start a company, how about start a revolution? The world has enough writers, enough lawyers, enough advertising executives. I think we can all agree that what we need more of are role models, game changers, and visionaries. And if you don't think your goal is big enough, I think I can help you find out. If you're not terrified every morning when you wake up, it's probably not big enough. If you're not constantly terrified and being called crazy and hearing no, you might want to rethink your approach. I think most people would probably get up here and tell you how to avoid fear and avoid failure, but I'm telling you that you should chase failure as fast as you can. My life basically consists of going from fear to failure, to fear, back to failure, and I must say I am living my dream, and I'm so happy. Now, the last thing I want to do is leave you with some things that I wish someone told me at your age, when I was in your shoes, 20, 21 years old, graduating from Penn. These are just some random pieces of advice as you go out into the world so you don't end up having the same regrets that I have. Don't text naked photos of yourself to anyone. And if you must, crop your head out. But you shouldn't. If someone forces you to do it, just break up with them. That's a crazy person. There's so much porn out there. Why would you need to do that? Another thing, don't be afraid to say, I don't know. Okay, I used to be terrified to admit that I didn't know something. I thought that it was a sign of weakness, but nobody expects you to know everything, and nobody likes the person who does know everything. Don't be that person. Person's annoying. Also, parents will probably be with me on this. Shut up. Don't talk so much. Say half of what you want to say, okay? After a lot of therapy and self-searching, I have realized that usually when I'm talking, it's not to actually communicate, it's usually to try and charm someone or make them like me or hear myself talk or show off, and that's transparent, it's ineffective. I know you all majored in communications, but I'm telling you, cut your communication in half. Because it's the more you talk, the less people listen, and I probably should have taken that advice when I wrote this. Be selfish with your time. There's a lot competing for your attention these days. Instagram, Twitter, Vine, Snapchat, if you're gross. Be careful what you give your attention to, because time goes by so fast and it waits for no one. If you don't believe me, Google the kid from 2.5 Men. He's 21 now. A week ago, I felt like he was like 10. Don't waste your time. I wasted a year in my 20s on MySpace that I will never get back. Another thing I wish someone had told me at your age, nobody cares about your clothes. This is another thing parents will appreciate. Nobody cares what you're wearing. Just get like 5 good black shirts. I've interviewed hundreds of people, and I have never once given someone a job because I like their clothes. It's not important, okay? Everyone I've ever hired and ever promoted, I can't tell you one thing they wore. So use your time and money for much more effective things. See, look at me. I nailed it today. This sounds very cliche, but enjoy what you're doing. I know that that sounds corny, but if you have fun at what you're doing, you're actually going to be better at your job, and so is everyone else around you. This has been proven by neurologists. A couple years ago, I got a really big opportunity. I had a dream come true, and I was too stressed out and controlling to even be present. I was so worried about what was going to go wrong tomorrow that I couldn't be in my body today. And worrying about tomorrow does a disservice to today's work. I know we're brainwashed to multitask and plan ahead, but it took me 10 years to learn that you'll have a lot less work tomorrow if you just give 100% to what you're doing today. And if you're focused on the problems of tomorrow, that's exactly what you're gonna get, problems tomorrow. As a snowboard instructor told me, you go where you look. If you go up, you go up. If you go down, you go down. So look up. Of course, he told me that after I broke my shoulder snowboarding, which was not very helpful. Also, don't try to network. I feel like this is a new thing. It's not a thing. I have a lot of people come to me and they ask me to have dinner and network with me. No, don't network, just work, okay? There's no point in knowing powerful people if you don't have a skill to show them. I feel like networking perpetuates this false sense of success. Just spend your time earning your career, and I promise you, you will get it. Someone very wise in the business told me that everyone gets the career they deserve, except Jennifer Lopez. I can't explain that. Another thing, don't mistake busyness for productivity. They're not the same thing, okay? Or being busy for being successful. In a society, we glorify busy, right? And I urge you not to glorify busy. I urge you to glorify mindfulness. Being busy may just mean you're bad at organizing your time, which is not impressive to anyone. It took me a long time to learn that being busy and being effective are not the same thing. And lastly, wear sunscreen. And if you're a girl, freeze your eggs before you're 35, and don't date actors or musicians. Thank you and congratulations.